Do you want to intro or you want me to intro?
I'll intro.
Eddie, you intro.
Welcome to
Oh,
the. Are you going to? Yeah, here. Do the clap in. Clap. Hi, and welcome to another edition of the Fake Philosophers. I'm bringing us in. My name's Eddie, and you know the co-hosts, but I want them to introduce themselves because they're adults.
They try to be.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I'm
Co-host.
Are you going?
Go ahead.
I'm Mike.
You go ahead.
Hi.
Like I said, adults.
I'm Mike.
Hi, I'm Mitch.
All right, and they're adults. Okay, so that I've said that 3 times. We're not going to bring it up anymore.
It's still
I've got a
funny.
quality
It's
problem.
still funny. It was funny the first 2 times, and now it's funny again. Try it again.
I've got a quality problem. And okay, so last night I come home and it's been my social, and I just feel like, COVID coming out, the renaissance is happening. So I'm in an improv class. I signed up for a Monday class, a level 2 class, which I'm taking again, and a level 3 class, which includes a performance. The level 2 class I took as a primer. So I realize things are going to conclude. I shoot an email off, not expecting anything, to like an acting school, and I get a response. And my intent was to audit the class, but the teacher shoots back with the fact that the class is beginning tonight. So yes, I'm going to start that class. I called the teacher this morning just to get clarification. It's like, okay, is this per class that I'm paying the amount, or is it per session? I'm paying per session. And she says it's a good idea to take classes in tandem. So along with the Meisner class, I should take the Chekhov class on Monday. But I already have a Monday class. I only have it for 2 weeks. So this Chekhov class, taken in tandem with a Meisner class, should I abandon level 2 just because it's a primer for the show? Or should I stick it out another 2 weeks and just do the improv, and we'll do Chekhov next session? What would you guys do?
Yeah, I don't know. That's a good one. But
So you had your improv classes for 2 more weeks?
About 2 more weeks. Yeah, it ends
And then-
the last class October 4th.
And then can you hop into the Chekhov class after that? Or is it like you
started,
have to start?
last week, so it's kind of, I can make up 1 week beyond that.
Well, my suggestion is based off of your objective. Are you taking the class just for self-enrichment, or are you taking the class in hopes that it'll lead to future gigs?
Self-enrichment.
Stick with
That's
the
really
improv
what-
then.
Stick with the improv.
I would stick out the improv, yeah. Because I feel like I know you enjoy improv anyway, and I think you'd enjoy the Chekhov. But if it's just for self-enrichment, I would just stick out the improv
Sounds good.
'Cause it's
Sounds
fun.
Good, yeah.
yeah.
and you're already a good actor.
Thank you.
You don't need
I didn't
Chekhov.
get an ITL award or anything, but
Well, we all have to start somewhere. Do
yeah.
Fuck you, motherfucker.
Seriously.
you have an ITL
Anyway,
award
I do. Yeah.
for what?
Taming of the Shrew.
Where?
Yeah, Lewis family.
No.
Name.
you didn't get one for Noises Off?
I probably did. That's the only one I know. Apparently, I've never
I
been.
I had like anything better to do that day.
Yeah.
I did laundry, and then I was like, oh shit, there's an I said,
No, I mean,
okay.
I feel bad because I know some of the listeners I've invited definitely are active in the Inland Empire Theater and all that, and a lot of them go to the ITL Awards, and it's like really fun for them.
I've heard it's an event.
It's a good just community theater convention kind of thing, and it's fun.
I feel like
I've personally never been.
I feel
Oh,
like
really?
I feel like I should
I
have
feel like
been given an ITL award by default.
Yeah,
I think once you do enough plays in an Empire, you should just get one.
you get that fucking Oscar award that they give the really old people,
The lifetime achievement or something. Yeah, you should get something like. I feel like I did enough quality theater in the Inland Empire. I haven't for a while now, but at the time, I did enough to where like if the people watching that you were talking about. I remember one year I went and looked at the ITL listings of who won.
Yeah.
And I was like, really?
Oh god, yeah.
Like that means that I was like, I went and saw that and
Yeah.
really?
You would think that, like with the Oscars, for example. I know, comparing the ITL to the Oscars.
Same thing.
As the Oscars got more famous, it got increasingly political. Like it was less about what the show.
There's always like the artistic movie,
right?
The black movie,
right?
Or like there's certain things. Not to say they're bad movies, but there's always like the Chekhovs.
So as it grows in popularity and funding, you'd expect that it gets more popular, whatever. I feel like if it comes to like community theater and it's already political, it's like whoa.
Well, we're already there. I feel like so we. I guess we should be kind of careful about what we say now, but I feel like a lot of community theater communities.
Yeah.
So an example.
Go ahead.
No example. So when I went to college, and my professors aren't watching this, and even if they are, they can't grade me anymore.
Suck a dude.
So
professors.
yeah, when I was in college, with a couple aside, because a couple of them are actually working actors who did this just, it's almost a survival gig as a professor, which sounds weird, but that's what they did. With them aside, there were like 2 or 3 professors that you could tell this is all they had.
Oh, yeah.
Like who didn't make it out there. So this is their kingdom.
Yeah.
And they took it super serious. Like as a professor, you should take it serious, but like to a point where it's like, are you okay?
Oh God, yeah. Okay.
And so I feel like sometimes these community theater people are kind of the same.
I guess it's just really up to the individual and how much they take it, how seriously they take it. I guess because anytime I've been in a community show, I treat it like it's a community show. I'm giving my free time to come in and do some acting because I like it.
I'm with you.
And the tickets should reflect that. Like it should be really low price because it's a community theater.
Yes.
It's not professional. It's just fun. It's art. It's expression. Whatever. And I always forget there are those people in there that's their life, and they're in the trenches and they're building that resume, getting to there.
Because I forgot what show it was. It's happened several times. Where like it's a non-paying show, it's community theater, and the director or the assistant director or the stage manager, someone will like rip into an actor, and I'm just like, you're lucky they don't fucking walk away.
Yeah, right.
Like
what's their incentive? What's their incentive to stay?
Like if hypothetically, I'll say it. So we all, the 3 of us did Midsummer Night's Dream years ago, and I loved that show. The director Mike was great, but like if a week before opening night, if Mike the director came to me and ripped me a new asshole over something, I would have been like, bro, there's literally nothing keeping me here. Like I don't owe you shit. You're not paying me. There's no penalty if I drop out. Maybe a bad reputation. Like oh man.
Yeah.
I'll be ostracized from the...
And how are you, a tall, white, good-looking male, going to get another role in a community theater? I mean, the demand
is so low. But I remember just in my head, though, like when these people take it that seriously, I'm like, what? You have no retainer on any of these actors.
Right, yeah.
They're doing it, like you said, for fun.
Yeah.
For our own enjoyment.
Right.
So if someone hypothetically, and this guy never did it, but if any of these people came to me, it could be a week, it could be 2 days before opening night. And if they fucking try to rip me a new asshole, I'll just be like, hey, bye.
Yeah.
Like...
Yeah.
They'll never, ever work in the Inland Empire again. We're talking Banning, Hemet, Indian Wells. You're through.
I'm reaching out.
Redlands, man. Redlands. If you get blacklisted in Redlands, you're fine.
Yeah. I mean, it's only Running Springs from there. I mean, yeah.
but I do even feel like when we were a lot more active in it, I remember like when this person would be cast and someone's like, "Do you hear like they were in a show in Rialto?" And this happened, and I'm like, how do you know this? Like, I'm like, it's one thing if you're like in Hollywood, like shit gets around, but it's like, how do you know this about each other?
It's fascinating. Like even in Southern California where we are, then it's the closer you get to LA, the more theaters there are, and the more community theaters there are, and the more people there are trying to get into theater. But we still find a way to make it a small community so that everyone knows everyone.
Absolutely.
Yeah. It's interesting being down here because there's not really that LA element. Yeah. If you want to be in LA, you frickin' go to LA. Down here, it's not that. Ugh. And even where we lived in Rancho, I mean, it was still there. You could feel it.
Yeah.
Well, I feel like I mean, you're probably right, obviously, but like even when I lived in Las Vegas during college, forget the university, but even like the local theater scene. There was like, I forgot what it was called, but some little local community theater where, they worked for free and stuff. And I remember one of the people in our program were like, yeah, there's a lot of drama over at the theater and this and that, and like people are splitting, and I'm just like, why?
Yeah, exactly.
Like, why? What is so dramatic? Even I'll say it. Even in California, the Fontana Mummers, when they were around, I would hear, like, I love that theater to death. To those who have never heard of it, it's like a small little rinky-dink theater. It was run off of blood, sweat, and tears, and lots of tears.
Standing room only.
Yeah, and
not that.
And but no, like, and people, they were talking about how like they couldn't pay their bills, and there was fighting amongst like the council, if you will, the leadership board, if you will,
the board of directors.
And I'm just like, why? Like, this is supposed. I get creative differences, but like, y'all are taking this kind of serious.
But there are always those people that live off of that shit, that need to.
That's very true.
Need to have drama. They start shit and they just,
if they're bored,
yeah. Or people who just thrive on gossip, and like people who get a rush from gossip. And if there's nothing to gossip about, they'll look for it.
It's a social environment anyway, so you're going to have those elements. My perspective as a performer is like, I'm performing on stage and I leave it there. I don't need to bring it off stage. Mm-hmm. That's where I put it. So
yeah, same.
And that's a whole other discussion too, is the offstage actors and actresses.
Mm-hmm.
Are you talking about like just drama queens, or are you talking about like method?
The method, the bad method, the Jared Leto method.
That is the dumbest thing I think I've seen.
Yeah.
Agreed. Eddie might remember this. I'm not sure. We did a Laramie project at Chaffey College years ago, mm-hmm. and I won't say the guy's name. A guy in the play, he was like outside smoking a cigarette or something, and I was like, oh, I didn't know you smoked. And he's like, yeah, I don't. I'm just, I'm trying to feel out the character. And to those who don't know, Laramie Project's all based off like real people. Like, these are all interviews and stuff. And I was like, oh, does your character smoke? Like, does the guy smoke? And he's like, I don't really know if he smokes or not. And he's a real person, but like he seems like a guy who will smoke. Mm. And I was like, I don't think in the play there's any scene where he smokes. And he's like, yeah. And I was like, so you literally don't have to smoke. Because there's no
it's an excuse to smoke.
Well, but even like after the play was over, he stopped smoking. But it was like, why are you? And I smoked for years, but like, you are literally poisoning yourself to get into a character that you don't even know smokes or does or doesn't smoke, and you're not even required to smoke on stage. I can understand if like, you have to smoke on stage. Okay, I'll get my lungs ready, warm them up. But like, I was like, you're out of your fucking mind.
Yeah.
Like, you're literally doing this there's no reason to do this.
That's some next level. Yeah. No reason.
And then not to mention the people who just stay in character when they're not on stage.
Yeah,
it's fucking ridiculous. I can almost get it, like, if you're going off stage and coming back on.
Right.
Like, a few minutes later, you kind of stay in the zone.
That's what the wings are for, right?
Yeah. But for people who, like, go home and are still in... Especially when you actually...
Well, that's Sacha Baron Cohen. That's Kevin Spacey doing Lex Luthor. You know, if you want to run that way, you run that way.
And I get it, and that's fine. I just think that's absolutely it's wasted energy. When the camera's off, why the camera's off? You're off stage. Like to stay in that character is just silly. And that's not even the term. The method has been corrupted because the method is actually a legitimate acting style.
Agreed. Yes.
But then people now hear method acting and they think that just means you're in character all the time.
I remember going into college studying theater thinking that was my preconception of what method acting was that like people who live it, go home and beat their wife because they're in Streetcar Named Desire or whatever the shit. And I remember thinking that's what method was and having a bad taste in my mouth. And then I actually read Stanislavski and I was like, holy shit, this is actually
it
is a method of getting into character and I really like it. Okay. Yeah. So I think for posterity's sake, we need to have like a term for method and crazy method.
Well, I know. So Stanislavski, his is called The Method.
The Method.
And then method acting is
the Daniel Day-Lewis.
That shit, yeah.
Okay.
But no, I had the same experience. And it really is just unnecessary because I understand getting into it, really diving in, especially, before you go on stage or before the camera rolls, getting into the right headspace. But to take it home, to start smoking.
To compare two good examples. Well, one good example is Heath Ledger versus Jared Leto in The Joker. Heath Ledger, it was, people like to say that's the character that killed him. It's not true. He's filming another film and he OD'd when he died. And people are like, well, Heath Ledger had this journal and he did like lived the character off screen and all that. There's no real, unless I haven't seen it.
No, you're right.
There's no real story about that. What they found was his journal as a character journal. And if you're a good actor and you go home and you work on your character, and you should have a journal for a character. Jared Leto would send dead animals to his castmates and shit.
Yeah.
When they were, there's a big difference between going home and working on your character off camera or off stage to make it more thorough, doing script work, doing all that shit, versus this character's crazy. I need to become this character.
I need to live it.
Yeah, because then it's not acting. Then it's
well, because you're right. A lot of people think that Heath Ledger did that crazy shit, and he didn't.
No.
Sure, he would show up to set and stay in character on set.
Right.
And I think part of that, and I've heard of this, not because he's crazy, but because he wants people to be legitimately nervous around him.
Oh yeah. Okay.
So I remember, I think it was Michael Caine said the one scene they had together that
Yeah.
he showed up and just stayed in character the entire time, and Michael Caine said he was fucking petrified.
Right. And I also do acknowledge that if you have a character that complex and it's a process to get into character, I totally respect that. And if you don't want to waste time getting in and out of character and you want to stay there in your own little space doing, staying in character, then fine, whatever.
But like,
Well, it's preservation of authenticity, and you want to depict that because that's golden. Whatever you're displaying, you want to make sure that the audience sees that and not you acting.
yeah,
And
no,
that,
of course.
whatever you need to do to bottle that, just so the director says go and you go,
Right.
that whatever it takes.
Especially
Now,
sorry, go ahead.
well, flash forward to like an actual incident and getting that out of somebody who isn't an actor. Have you guys seen The Firm?
Mm-hmm.
Well, that one scene where they're meeting with a client, and Tom Cruise's character says you're making a big mistake, and there's a confrontation. He goes, "Who the fuck do you think you are?"
This is when
That's
he
the
walks into the mob.
I don't think it's the mob. I think it's prior to that.
Okay.
But it's a scene, and it's who the fuck do you think you are? That's Jerry Weintraub, executive producer of the shoot, who's a businessman, and it's a dialogue between a businessman and two attorneys. Jerry Weintraub doesn't put out, so the director devised it and just said cut, and then had Tom Cruise just say to Jerry Weintraub, you're really wasting our time. And then Jerry Weintraub just ripped into this actor while the camera was still rolling. So that's not acting. That's somebody that's really Jerry Weintraub being pissed off at Tom Cruise for being a smartass,
Yeah.
And then they capture it on film. So I was gonna say that's authenticity, but that is authenticity right there. He wasn't portraying being pissed off. He was pissed off.
Sure.
So
And you are right, Eddie. You are right. Authenticity is always good.
Yeah, and especially when it comes to that. Well, going back to the transition of character, going into character and out of character. When it comes to something super fine as a movie shot, when they spend, you've seen it, where it's hours setting up a shot.
Yeah.
If the actor isn't ready to rock at 100% like everyone else did, it's a bummer. So I can see how someone would be in character offset or on set.
Well, and that's where I would agree that it's one thing to get into character.
Yeah.
To take the work to get in time to get into character so that you're ready to go. But I'm talking about, like I said, the guy who started smoking.
Yeah, that's
for
weird.
some reason.
That's weird.
Or like you said, the difference between Heath Ledger and Jared Leto, that Heath Ledger went home and did character work. He did not go home and pretend to be the Joker for the night.
Yeah.
He did work. Of course, that's what you do. You go home, you do character study, but you don't just become the character and harass people.
Do you have
well,
any?
that being said, when Sacha Baron Cohen is Borat, he is Borat. He goes home and sleeps as Borat. His wife has to sleep with Borat.
And that's
doesn't stop.
On the flip side, like Jared Leto, because I just saw my wife and I just watched Blade Runner 2049. I'd seen it before, but it was her first time, and I'm watching Jared Leto in it, and I'm like, God damn it, he's so good. He's just good.
He's a good actor.
His product is amazing, and to a certain point, I'm like, you know what? I don't care how he does it, as long as he keeps doing it. He's so good.
There is that argument where it's like, as long as the product's good, who cares how they get there?
Yeah.
It's just my personal annoyance. Like you said with Borat, like, you're going to do that to your fucking wife.
If she's down, I mean, whatever.
Bless that angel.
She knew what she was getting into.
God bless her, but that shit's just annoying to me. What were you about to ask?
Do you guys have any character building tips, things you do, little things that you might have learned that you think more people should know about?
I don't know. I mean, it's just, you take classes, there's all sorts of tools. One thing that I've learned, I think I might have said this in a previous episode with you guys when we talked about this stuff, is even though I think I said this too, because I remember now, I didn't get along with the professor, but I remember the guy saying realistic choices are boring. Because an issue I always had as an actor was when I'd read the script, or even just making decisions on how to say lines, I would kind of, because I think I'm a rational person, so like I would say, okay, what would I do in this situation? How would I respond to this? How would I use this tone? And then he's like, those are rational choices, but if we watched a group of rational people being rational for 2 hours, that'd be the most boring play you've ever watched. There's no conflict, there's nothing. And I was like, so that's where like I kind of understood. I was like, it's a small thing, but I understood like that's something to keep in mind. Like, yeah, you can make these rational choices with the script, but it's boring.
Yeah.
Make the irrational choice.
Interesting.
If you're writing and a character comes to the crossroads of, is he gonna start snorting cocaine, or is he gonna go home to his wife?
Well, what's going
to be a more interesting thing to watch? The cocaine, absolutely.
Yeah.
On Monday, I had a very interesting, and it was the level 2 class, but it
no big deal.
I just needed a conflict right up front, and it was like somebody came up with your first line is this coat cheese tastes wonderful, and so I just led with that, and I was like, no, you know what? I don't care that you made it. You should be in law school. So right there, I want my son to go to law school.
Interesting.
And then he brings up his brother, and then it's a stop, and then it's called playwright. So we stop. Where did the brother get the degree from? San Diego Community College. Okay, his law degree. Yeah. So
his
it's
law
like,
certificate.
okay, I'm ultra proud of him, and my want is for him to see his brother and for him to quit cooking school and go to law school. And I got really into that. Now, in level 3 class,
here we go.
There was kind of a revolving scene. I forget what it's similar to Four Corners, what have you. So in one scene, it took place at a football game, and I wanted to be Jennifer Tilly, so I sound like this. And then my other scene was we're in a dragon's lair, and my focus was like I wanted to do Owen Wilson and just have it really be cool when we're stealing gold. But it was about stealing gold, and it was about a marriage. It wasn't about conflict and character. I wasn't in the dragon's lair. That's what made it fun, because if you're really in there, you want to keep quiet. And that's a much better and more interesting scene rather than focusing on characters.
Yeah.
So,
your impressions are really good, by the way.
Yeah.
I'm sorry?
Your impressions are spot on.
Well, that's another trick I learned. It's like you could do a caricature, just do a bad impression, and that's a character.
Yeah.
And if people pick it up, great. Otherwise it's another character. So
I like that.
That's a fair assessment.
Well, and there was a game that just said bad impressions.
Can't expect you to have good ones.
But
I said they couldn't expect you to be good ones then, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But then again, in class, I thought I did. Okay, so this is actually at Groundlings. I thought I did a good impression of Clint Eastwood because the professor kept letting me go a little longer. So, anyways,
Eddie,
you're telling me that wasn't a good Owen Wilson?
I am just saying I appreciated the effort. All I'm saying,
you did a lot of things right.
All I'm saying is like I could tell it wasn't Owen Wilson's talking.
Okay.
I'm not saying it was
Mitch,
bad.
Let's hear you do Owen Wilson. Come on.
Owen Wilson. What? We're looking for gold? Wow, we're looking for gold. There's no gold there. Wow.
There, I was looking for the wow.
Wow.
I'd have to workshop that one.
That's why I don't
just
do impressions.
Put on the spot, so there you go.
Yeah, I don't do impressions because I'm not good at them.
That's dumb. Is that why you gave up acting?
Yes, just because of the impressions.
Because you don't do impressions.
They asked me to do an impression of Rod Stewart, and I said I can't do this anymore, and I walked away forever.
looking and
they were like,
forward to-
perfect. That's it.
We want it. I was already at the door. I can get the part.
And then, I haven't done anything. I haven't been on stage to do a play since 2012. So I've just been doing improv since 2017. So it's now I get back into that framework, and I'm glad I have a class rather than an audition. So, it's I can't do Owen Wilson really. No, I'm embarrassed. Thanks.
No worries.
Hey.
I actually lost an audition once. Like I couldn't do a French accent.
Oh, whoa.
It was a short film about the French mafia, which is already a gold mine. And they had me reading to be like the boss or one of the bosses. And I told them, I was like, they're like, can you do a French accent? And I was like, I will not be able to do a convincing one right now. But like, if you gave me time, I have like a workbook. I can do one eventually, but I cannot do it on the spot. And they're like, okay. And then they called me back the next day. Like a day, it was within a day or two. They called me back to read again.
They gave you that chance. Wow.
Well, no. So they called me back, but it was like within a few hours notice.
Wow.
It was like, we would like you to come back and read again today. And I was like, okay. So I went back in. They're like, have you worked on your French accent? And I was like, no, because I didn't know to actually like workshop an accent, because I'm not good at just picking up on it.
Okay.
It takes time.
Sure.
To actually look through a script, look at your lines, understand.
Yeah.
And so you can't give me 3 hours notice. And then like they got mad that I didn't have a French accent prepared. And I didn't have a script. They handed it to me. And they're like, okay. And so I read it like, so are you not able to do a French accent today? And I was like, no, I need time. And they're just like,
well, so they didn't say you've got 3 hours, do your best French accent. They didn't send you away and say that.
no, they just said, oh, okay. And then I didn't hear from them again.
So now can you do a French accent?
No, they didn't. No one told me I had to have a French accent prepared.
Fuck your agent, man. So was this film? Was it a student film?
It might have been.
Like college kids do it?
It might have been, but it was. And the audition added just a short film.
See, all I'm picturing is just a college kid who's like grandma immigrated from France or whatever,
And that's why he thought
and
of
it's
French
like
mafia.
it's like every college film has to have some element of organized crime or something. It's like this.
Did you see there was a short film or even like a fake trailer that somebody made, and it was like every college film ever?
No, I've seen the one that every Oscar winner ever. That one's amazing.
So I think it might have been the same people, but they kind of did that where it was like there was definitely mafia in there.
Yeah.
I think there was like a lousy love story. And there was like all the college student film tropes.
They some like almost gunfight with a bunch of airsoft guns. It's every college film ever.
Yeah.
Well, I'll clarify. Every college film made by a dude.
Yeah.
So
There was some good college at UNLV. There were some pretty good college like shorts that were made that were unique.
yeah. Okay.
I enjoyed them. There was
And
one.
then you have the Blair Witch Project, and it's like, okay, if you hit something on it.
There was one short film. I still think it was brilliant. Where the setup, it was one of the film festivals where they give you like a line, a genre, etc.
Yeah.
And
I love those.
I forgot the details. But pretty much, the protagonist, his brother was a mailman, and he died. And so he goes to this house and he has like his last mail bag. And so he's like, I'm gonna deliver his last bag of mail for him.
Oh, okay.
And so he goes around, and it's kind of sweet. And he just like stops and he's like, oh hey, where's Gary? He passed away. I'm actually his brother. And then he sits down and has tea with him. He's like, oh man, he was my mailman for years. All right, and it was kind of like sweet. There's a little montage. He runs from a dog, etc. But the whole time there's just this one letter that's from his brother to some woman. Let's call her Kate. And so the last scene, it's like that's the last envelope. So he goes to the house, knocks on the door. She's like, hi. And he's like, hey, and she goes, what happened to Gary? And he's like, oh, I'm his brother, but this is his last piece of mail. And I think it's for you, and I think it's special. And she's like, okay. And he walks away, and he just looks proud, happy, like, and it cuts back to her, and she looks down, and it's a dick pic. and that's where it ended. And that's where it ended. And it was like in a big lecture hall. We were watching these, and everyone fucking lost it.
Oh, it's amazing.
That is classic. That is
Like, it was so sweet, so sentimental, and then dick pic.
Amazing. Love it.
So there are those gems.
Yeah. But yeah, to answer the question, I want an ITL for Taming of the Shrew, Petruchio and Taming of the Shrew. That was years ago, though.
Yeah. And then Eddie, you should stick to the
I was going to
improv.
ask, well, was there a banquet? Did you go with a first or second entree? I mean,
No, someone texted me during the ITLs. I was at home, probably drinking, and they texted me and said, "Hey, by the way, you won." And I was like, "Won what?" The ITLs. And I literally texted back, "What's an ITL?"
What's an ITL? You text back, what's an ITL?
that is funny.
What is that? And my friend, she said, like, "Oh my," and then she told me what it was, and I was like, oh, because I knew of it. I just never heard the acronym of it before, or referred to as an acronym.
Damn.
And then there was someone who was mad that you didn't even care.
Right.
There's someone who had to
You
be
didn't
like,
get
oh.
like an invitation. You didn't get like
They didn't come to your house with roses. Hey, you were nominated.
Yeah.
No.
You didn't have people coming up to you. Congratulations. I am so rooting for you.
Yeah.
I know you'll have it this year.
But
Not like those other bad actors who don't deserve it, but you. You
And
know,
then I was in a show like the next year, and someone was saying it was Great Gatsby, and someone was saying like, "Yeah, we missed you at the whatever." I'm like, "You really you missed me? You like did
we were looking for you."
Oh man, I felt really bad, but I feel bad that I didn't. I feel bad because I feel like I should have cared more because it means a lot to some people.
Well, I think you're right. It means a lot to people, and I think that's how we're going to introduce you from now on.
Yeah.
Is
Yeah, I
ITL
brought
award
it up.
winner, ITL award winner
brought
Mitch.
it up, so, right up there with the Nobel and the Golden Globes. That's the ITL really is the one you're gunning for.
That's what's really going to bring us a real crowd to watch this is ITL winner Mitch.
Yeah, they're gonna watch this episode and be like, "Oh, Mitch,
It
he's a great
It hasn't
guy."
been an award show since,
That Mitch, he's a great guy, good community theater. Let's see what he has to say about it.
Mitch, he's not here.
We had to ask him to leave. I'm gonna audition for a show and be like, "Oh, it says here you're in a podcast. I heard you had something to say about us."
How do you feel about the ITL?
Mitch couldn't be here tonight because he's fixing a generator and then drinking beer.
Yeah,
But I'm here to accept it for him. How did that
would have
happen?
been amazing. Send a proxy.
Did somebody accept
that's
it for you?
awesome.
Or?
No, I mean there's always people that don't show up, that don't go. So
They're
it's not
just
like
doing
it's just not like it's not me.
just doing it.
It's just oh yeah, there's like people.
They
'cause
have a plan.
To be fair, if when you win an ITL, there's like 5 or 6 winners for like best actor in a play because there's like 1,000 plays.
That's right. You're
And
right.
it's like best dramatic performance or best supporting dramatic, and there's like last time I saw it might have changed. It was somewhere between 5 and 15 winners for each category.
You're right. I remember on the website it had like
Yeah.
multiple.
And I was like, "Are those who are nominated?" Like, no, those are the winners. I'm like, "How could there?" Okay, so that was strike one for me.
I do feel like the little bit I know about it, it is almost a participation trophy, because
Yeah,
there's not because Inland Empire is so fucking big, and they nominate dozens and dozens of people in plays.
yeah.
To pick one would be unfair, but
And truly, we know the people here. Can you imagine telling them that this one was a better actor than this one? Can you imagine how received
even
that would
without
be?
the awards,
Exactly.
even without the awards, they're like, Mitch got cast as Romeo
Oh my god.
That's
when
cool.
I should have been Romeo.
I mean, like even
Mitch has clearly been Volio.
to flip it, I know a guy. I've said too much by saying he was a guy, but I know a guy who did not win. Like that one of the years I won, and listed a few other people that were in the play with me that won, and he who was the title character did not even get it, and he flipped his shit. And he did it the way passive aggressive community theater actors do it. He writes a ambiguous Facebook post about how they're moving on and going on to greater pastures because they're not appreciated here. It was amazing. It was amazing. We can't post this episode. I'm gonna get blackballed.
Oh man,
I knew who you were talking about, Mitch. You didn't even show up to your award, and I deserved it.
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
I want to know who it is.
Awesome.
Well, I'll ask off
That's
camera.
good characters right there. That's good
me off.
characters right
Ask me off. But like, okay, and I'm sure that's not the only time that's happened. Of like community theater,
Oh,
weren't
are
even
you-
like I wasn't even like.
Well,
really?
that's what I mean. People get mad when they're just not cast as the right person.
yeah,
And I've been there too.
sure.
But
And honestly, if you care that much, I think you're in the wrong industry.
I think the only time there's 2 times I've been angry about a casting. The first time was because it's been a decade. I'll say it. Eddie, remember The Wiz?
Great start. Please tell me
Yeah.
you were in the Wiz. Please tell me you were in the Wiz.
Yeah, I was.
Oh God.
No, so So this is the first time I got really irritated by casting. So the director, I'll keep the name out, even though everyone who might be watching knows who it is. So the director did Grease earlier that year. And going into Grease, and I'm fine with this, she said, we're not going to cast it racially. Because if you cast Grease racially, it's just white.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? It's just
Yeah.
across the board white. She's like, we're not going to cast race is not going to be a factor, which I'm fine with. Danny Zuko was Asian. Kaneki was Pacific Islander. I think, and they were all, it was a nice little rainbow. But so then coming up to The Wiz, she says, like, yeah, like The Wiz is classically a black kind of play, so we're gonna go in like an ethnic route. And I was like, you just, and I know it's probably a false equivalency to an extent, but still kind of irritated me. But whatever. I auditioned, and I was obviously a little more spry when I was younger, and without saying names, which I know Eddie will probably know who I'm talking about, I was not cast at all at first.
Okay.
Even though like I could dance, I was a decent, not a lead singer, but like for the background, I could sing well and I could act. There were multiple people in that cast who like could not dance and could not act very well and could not sing very well, but they were favorites of the professor. And I was like, okay, and like multiple people dropped out of that cast right away because a lot of people were upset about it. And I was kind of like, yeah, this cast is kind of bullshit. And then sure enough, enough people dropped out to where she did ask if I want to be a part of it, and I ended up helping out. So that was the first time. The second time, actually, that director actually pissed me off on Grease too, but we'll skip that for now. Tale for another day. The second time was actually on one of our local people. They were doing Romeo and Juliet, actually. And granted, I was maybe 23 or 24. Not quite the gray hair I have now. But I've been getting gray hair since I was like 19. So I auditioned, and I think I auditioned for Mercutio, which I knew I wasn't going to get. I didn't look young enough. Tybalt, I thought I had a decent chance at because Tybalt can be older. And I think I put like one or two other characters down. And I remember the auditions. It was like a lot of people like were 19, 20, 21, which is fine. But like no one knew how to actually speak Shakespeare. You know, there is a rhythm, a rhyme, knowing the meaning. And I remember thinking like these guys don't know what the fuck they're doing. Like they don't.
I'm in.
Yeah, I was like, this is. I didn't even think I was gonna get what I wanted, but like these guys are not. They don't know the language. They don't know how to. And I think one guy who was auditioning for Mercutio used a Shakespearean term and made it like a dick joke. When in reality it wasn't. And I forgot the line. Okay. But I was like, and everyone was like, oh, a dick joke, and I was like, this is stupid. And I ended up getting like offered like, I forgot like, Guard 2 and something else. And I was like. And I was polite. Wow. I was like, I'm not gonna take it. And I know like one or two other guys who got the same thing. Yeah. And one of them, I'm not gonna say his name just in case, but we were talking. And I was like, dude, like we were like the best ones there. Wow. And I'm not saying out of like pettiness. I was like, we did the best readings. Like, how did we get these dog shit roles? And I think it was maybe because one, we looked older than the parts, and that's fine. But I remember kind of getting irritated, like, wow. Like, okay, that's the direction. Yeah.
Did you write a passive-aggressive post about it?
I wrote a letter.
Oh, okay. Did you really?
No.
Oh, okay.
What I ended up doing was when I got the offer, I was like, let me think about it. And then I talked to the guy, and he's like, I'm not taking mine. And I was like, yeah, I'm not gonna take it because I didn't know anyone in that play. Okay. And I was like, I'm not gonna take it then. Like if it was people in the play I knew, I might do it.
Sure, yeah. That's a big part of it.
But then another part of that too was somebody who didn't even go to the audition got cast in one of the leading roles.
Recast.
Yeah.
Which I'm guilty of that happening.
That's part of life.
No,
it is. I was just irritated by it. I was like, all right.
No, I mean, I think that's when you're producing a show and you're directing it and you're casting it, you do have to look at your pool of talent for what show you want to consider. If you're, every high school teacher knows this. Is like they're looking at their students and what they're capable of. It's like, well, we can't do Seven Brides for Seven Brothers. We don't have 7 dudes that can sing and dance. You know, we can't do. You know what I mean. So you got to and then when you do pick a show, you got to have a few of those. Okay, he could play this. He could play that. Whatever. And so there is that element of pre-casting kind of.
Oh, absolutely. And that's where like I was irritated by it, but like I get it.
Yeah.
Because if I was to do a play right now, I might not even hold auditions.
Oh yeah.
I would just cast people I know and.
I would still hold auditions up. I think once in a while I'll get like blown away and be like, yeah, but most of the time it's.
But you're right though. A lot of programs They think ahead of time, like, hey,
Yeah.
this is my group.
Absolutely.
So I know the same director that did The Wiz wanted to do some August Wilson play, one of the ones with like a bigger cast.
Oh.
And they were just like, we don't have that shade.
Yeah.
And like we just don't have that. We can't guarantee that we'll have that.
Yeah.
And
It'll be interesting to see.
and she did say like, well, can't we just use makeup?
No.
I wasn't in the room.
No.
But I had a source in the room that said like, couldn't we just use makeup? And everyone was like, no, absolutely not. Like, absolutely not. We're not doing that.
Damn.
Even though I would have loved to see that.
Oh, that would have been amazing.
I would have loved to. That would have been one for the books. That would have been the most memorable. That would have been memorable.
Can we just use makeup? Do you realize what you just asked? Like
No. And from what my source told me, it wasn't like it was like maliciously motivated.
No,
it was just genuinely like, can't we
obviously
just use makeup?
super naive and like probably not even thinking about it, but canceled.
That's awesome.
Oof. Oof.
We'll go off on this one. Same director during The Wiz. She might actually. She's not gonna watch this. Oh well, I don't care anyway. So I wasn't there, but the guy playing the lion, he was a good friend of ours, and he told us that there's a line in the play where when they all get captured by the witch or whatever, they have him working, and he says like, "Man, they got me out here working like Kunta Kinte," and which is fine, and the director was like, "Should we change that line?" And at first, I guess they thought. I was in the room for this, actually. Never mind. I was in the room for this. Because everyone was in the room for this. And she's like, should we change that line? At first, I was thinking like, oh, does she think it's going to sound racist or something? And the lion was like, why? Like, why do we need to change that line? She's like, well, do you think people are going to know who Kunta Kinte is?
Okay, yeah.
And
I
he's
was going
like,
to say that might be the only
and so he was like, the guy who played the lion was a little older at the time, and he was like, well, I think people will know who it is. Everyone's seen Roots. Like everyone, like even if you haven't seen Roots,
you should probably go see it.
But I mean, like, but you know the name at least. Like people heard the name Kunta Kinte. If you watch Dave Chappelle, at least. No, but and he starts saying this, and she's like, "Are you sure that people know who that is?" He's like, "Yeah, I don't think it's gonna be a problem." And she's like, "Who is Kunta Kinte?"
Oh, what?
Oh, okay, that's why.
And so everyone in the room, like we're all like 19. I mean, granted, the guy playing the lion was a little older, but we were like,
Amazing.
"What?"
Amazing.
And then he's like, "Well, what would we change it to?"
Oh, yeah.
And she's like, "We could change it to like Aunt Jemima."
They got me out here working like
Whoa, whoa,
Wesley
whoa.
Snipes.
Whoa, change it to who?
Aunt Jemima. You got me out here working like Aunt Jemima. Everyone was like, "That's so much worse." Like it's so much worse.
Wow.
You should have just let her keep going. Like, no.
So if it was
at that point, it just pays to shut up and say, "Yeah, that's fine. That's awesome."
So
everybody knows Aunt Jemima.
in retrospect, now I'm a different person. I'd be like, "Let's go with Aunt Jemima."
Yeah, and then fight for it. Fight.
I just stand by it. Back then, I was like, "That's retarded." Now, I like the chaos.
Yeah.
Like
Damn
I would
straight.
be all about it.
What would you say today? Like if you were doing the show today and you're like, that was the question brought like, hey, no one knows who Kunta Kinte is. What would you change it to?
Dave Chappelle.
Or, some modern movie that'd come out about slavery or something like that. And have to.
Or she'd be like, "Yeah, you got me working out here like a really bad part of American history."
That's pretty funny. That'd be pretty funny.
No, but yes, that's our community theaters for you.
Yeah. Yeah. It's
Eddie,
it
you should
in a
do the
nutshell.
improv, not Chekhov.
I think so. And I had that in the back of my mind, but I'm kind of this rush and I'm a glut for novelty. So it's like the novelty alarm is going off in my head. And of course the professor wants me to take it because it's their school.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to be getting my SAG card because of this class. So, and that's not what I'm going for. I'm here to have a good time and just really, study what it's all about.
You really do love honing your craft. I mean, you've been doing that as long as I've known you. You've just been either doing classes or doing the improv thing or something to make
A perpetual student.
Right,
Yeah.
yeah.
And it occurs to me that, you guys are more formally trained than I am. I mean, even in high school, you guys have more formal training than I do. I don't know the difference between Stanislavski, Chekhov. Quite frankly, I hadn't heard that name in a long time until last night. Meisner gets tossed around, and that's who started
Yeah.
this whole conversation. So it's really exciting to me, and yeah, I think I need to cut this short because I got class.
That's why I've been checking my phone.
Well, we're 3 past right now.
So we'll let Eddie go then, because Eddie has to go check this class out.
So Eddie, you want to
absolutely?
You want to take us home?
I will take us home, folks. Me and my co-acting precast panel, Mitch, ITL winner.
ITL award winning
didn't
Mitch.
Accept it, and somebody got pissed off because they dressed in their tux and paid the extra $2 to order salmon just to not win. But Mitch can stay home. And then we have Michael Glenny, who got the direction. I can understand what you're saying a little too much.
I'm gonna get so many emails about this shit.
Good.
Absolutely.
We need the publicity.
And then there's me, Eddie, who's late for his class, who can't wait to get started. And yeah, thank you for tuning in to The Fake Philosophers. And we'll be sure to piss you off next time as well, especially if you're in community theater.
Especially.
Cheers.
Yes.
The salute was really not timed well. I thought he was going to be like goodbye as I went like that, and he didn't say it.
That's okay. That's okay. We're like community theater of podcasts. It's okay.
There you go. That's the title. That's the title.
That's our tagline right there. Community theater of podcasts.